What is up, IDP Army? What is up, fantasy football fanatics? It's your man, Jordan Rains at 50 Shades of Drunk. Thank you for being here. If it's your first time with us, if you're not and you're returning, love to see you back. We're going to be talking about some IDP fantasy football updates, kind of based around the NFL news and rumors that are going around leading up to the NFL draft. So again, like I said, thanks for joining us here. Be sure to check out the podcast feed. If you haven't, we have 4 different shows: best ball show, a dynasty show, an IDP focus show, etc. We have something for everybody that loves fantasy football. So we would love to see you in the podcast feed. The links for those are both in the description. But like I said, today's show is going to be around NFL news and rumors and kind of how we are adjusting or looking at certain players that have been affected by things that have come out and, the last couple of weeks. We've had some Lamar Jackson stuff come out. Jalen Hurts got a really big contract yesterday. That was, has been talked about quite a bit. But there's some other kind of under the radar things maybe going on the defensive side of the ball that not everybody is keying into, and that's where we come in. We are going to help you become a better fantasy football player, dynasty manager, best ball player, and just overall better NFL fan by engaging with both sides of the ball, the whole game of fantasy. So, like I said, thanks for being here. If you have any questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. We love to engage with the fans and the audience, and talk to us. We are always here to learn and supplement our knowledge and share the wealth of knowledge that we have. So let's see here. Any other housekeeping before we jump into the news? We do now have the merch stores available. So if you go down, if you're watching on YouTube, you can buy one of the offensive point shirts. I'm sure the guys over there would appreciate that. The Possums do get a lot of love. Shout out to the whole Passel over there. But all right, let's go ahead and jump right into it, shall we? All right. So like I said, be sure to check out all of our podcasts. We have 3 or 4 different podcasts across 2 different feeds. But the first big piece of news I wanted to talk about is going to revolve around Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle for the New York Jets. He's looking for that contract, that he's that next interior defensive lineman to get paid. We saw Jeffrey Simmons just pick up a nice contract, and so we need to get this done for my man Big Q. Since joining the league in 2019, as a rookie, got signed. As a rookie, played 13 games, only had how many sacks did he have as a rookie? It wasn't a lot of sacks, only 2.5, but he stayed very busy otherwise. 28 total tackles. At 23 years old in his second season, saw a nice uptick in production, going up to 55 tackles, 7 sacks, not a crazy high number, 3 passes defended as well. 10 tackles for loss, a nice number there as well for Big Q in his second season. Third season, another good year, and we start to see some consistency pull up here. In his third season, 53 combined tackles. Okay, so let's put a pin in that. We know kind of what kind of production we're going to get there. Another 3 passes defended, 6 sacks. So there's a level of consistency there. And then this last year really kind of blew up and kind of showed people that he is that next big guy up. Played all 16 games, 55 tackles. Again, there's that number again that we like. It's a solid number. We've seen it 3 seasons in a row now, but this is where it gets fun. 12 sacks, 4 passes defended. So we saw a little bit of that boom that we've been hoping to see. And, there's different kinds of interior players. Some are run stuffers, and some guys are more of a pass rusher. Quinnen Williams is definitely on the pass rushing side, but he doesn't let that affect his tackle numbers by letting them dip. So love to see that from him. And then this last year, he was selected for all pro, so he has a big contract coming his way. Quinnen Williams, there isn't really any news, but they say he's seeking around 23 to 25 million. I think that's pretty good for, around his average yearly annual salary. And let's go ahead and talk about another defensive lineman, interior guy. This is Christian Wilkins, also in contract talks with the Miami Dolphins, his team. Now, since entering the league, Christian Wilkins has had a good career, a little different overall than Quinnen Williams. Not quite the pass rusher that Quinnen Williams is, and that's just exemplified in his career sack total is 5. but he's been in the league for a while, 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. So he's played every year. Quinnen Williams has as well. But his numbers are, again, this is a different kind of interior defensive lineman. Let's just go ahead and take a look. In his 4 seasons that he's played, he's played in 60 games. He started 56. Good number there. He's been cheap. His base salary this year is $10 million right now. I don't know how that's going to work. He's going to get paid. But let's talk about his career. In 2019, only 2 sacks, 30 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits, and 2 passes defended. Nothing to write home about, but that's a rookie season for an interior defensive lineman. Second year, okay, we're up to 1.5 sacks, not a very big deal. 28 tackles, again, not a whole lot to write home about. But you have to remember, this was during the Adam Gase era. There were some other weird things happening in Miami. So let's go to this next season, and this is where things start to pick up just a little bit more for Quinnen Williams. Oh, and those tackle numbers, those were his solo numbers. So in 2021, 4.5 sacks. So that's going to be his career high. 50 solos, though. 49, actually. 49 solos, 40 assists. So that's a big tackle number. Stopping a lot of plays from getting deep down the field in the running game. Okay, like I said, a little bit of a different kind of defensive lineman than Quinnen Williams. Again, this last season, 2022, exemplified in his 98 combined tackles. This guy is meant to stop the run. People are not going to be able to run on this team as long as Christian Wilkins is there. Why is that? Because Christian Wilkins isn't going to let that happen. So I'm going to let y'all take a little peek here inside the index, just so you can get an idea of where I'm getting this information. But this is all pulled directly from Pro Football Reference, so you can see here, 98 combined tackles. Big number. 16 tackles for loss. Those are behind the line of scrimmage. Even if they're not sacks, they're very impactful plays. Let's scroll down here a little. 0.26 points per snap. Not an unsustainable number either. That's one of the reasons we like to look at that to kind of see if it's an outlier type of number. 2021, 89 tackles for Christian Wilkins. Again, this is kind of what he does, is he stops the run. He's out there, and this is on 734 snaps. Like, he's not, a 12% tackle rate from an interior defensive lineman. That's some crazy stuff, y'all. That's pushing into some like safety-ish kind of numbers. Points per snap reflect that as well, 0.29. Yeah, and those are big increases from his rookie and sophomore season. So he is up for a contract extension. Wanted to bring that up for everybody. Especially if you're a Miami fan, you're probably aware of Christian Wilkins, kind of what he's done for your team. So these 2 guys, Quinnen Williams and Christian Wilkins, are the 2 players right now that in the news, rumors, whatever you want to say, same division as well. So it's interesting. They'll be competing to see who gets that bigger contract. And I guess it depends on the kind of defense you want to run, because both of these guys are elite at what they do. Let's scroll on down. So we're going to move away from the contract situations. We're going to talk about some guys who are a little bit unhappy. All right. Now, if you've made it this far, we appreciate that. Check out our rankings on patreon.com/the IDP Army. You can also follow us on all social medias and links in the description. All that good stuff. But Budda Baker, the undeniable leader of this team out here in Arizona at this point, one of the only guys left standing from, I don't want to go too far back, but it's been a while. He wants out. He's requested a trade. Kind of crazy. I'm going to read you some of his numbers since coming to the league. He's been in the league since 2017. He was drafted by this team. This is the team he's poured his heart and soul into. 74 tackles in 2017, 102 tackles in 2018, 147 in 2019, 118 in 2020, 98 in 2021, and then 111 this last year. This guy is out there making plays. And over the last few years, his impact play numbers have kind of increased a little bit too. Played the end of last season with a broken shoulder, basically knowing that his team wasn't going to do anything. Budda Baker went out there and put it all on the line. He wants out. He wants a trade. He's requested a trade. This is a guy that's a first-team All-Pro. He's a 2X Pro Bowler. Just one of the best all-around safeties in the league. Now, I was looking, while I was doing some research for this, I was kind of trying to figure out where he, what the rumor mill is saying. Rumor mill has kind of pegged him for Jacksonville, the Packers, and the Bengals. All would be great places for Budda Baker. The Bengals would be a great team for him. I think he would thrive. I think he would instantly be a spark. Not that the Bengals defense needs a spark, but like that would be kind of like throwing gasoline on a fire already. You know what I mean? On a set of embers that are already kind of smoldering. Good defense over there. Jacksonville, I like that spot as well. Kind of an up and coming team, very young, needs a leader. You know, Rayshon Jenkins, you know, y'all saw him last year. If you watch this channel, you know who he is. He had a great season last year for IDP. It would be cool to see, you know, Budda Baker come in there to play with him. Maybe I think he's still on that team. I didn't double check that before I started this, but I think that either way, if he's not on that team and they play side by side, or if he comes in and kind of takes that role away, I like that spot for Budda Baker a lot. But the overall reality is Arizona is a mess. Nobody wants to play for Arizona right now. And that's just the cold hard facts of it. Let's just take a little bit more of an in-depth look here at Budda Baker. You know, whoever gets this guy on their team, they're getting an elite safety, a guy who plays through injuries. Let's take a look at this last season. 968 total snaps. Only 1 tackle for loss last season. Don't love that, but 75 solos. So 75 stops created by himself. You know what I mean? Tackle rate down there at 11.47%. Like I said, Christian Wilkins has a higher tackle rate than Budda Baker. Kind of crazy. Points per snap, 0.23. Now, I bet if we go back a little bit, Baker had a better season the year before. No, 0.22. So there's a level of consistency here. Interesting. 1,037 snaps, 6 tackles for loss in 2021. Career low, or second lowest career totals as far as tackles that season. But they did switch up the way their defense operated last year a little bit, I believe. Going back to 2020, 118 tackle season, 7 tackles for loss. So that's something we did see missing from his repertoire this last season as well, was the tackles for loss. I think he just had the 1. But going back historically, we can see here that he is traditionally a behind the line scrimmage guy. He can get there and he can get it done. So let's talk about another player who wants to leave the team that drafted him. Another very IDP defensive player, Dynasty defender that you all should be knowing about, or you do know about, obviously. That's my man, Devin White. Devin White came in, took the NFL by storm a couple of years ago. He's won a Super Bowl already, and he's a kind of a contentious player. And I'll be real, if you've watched him for a while, he's got me blocked on Twitter for some reason. I think his rookie season, I said something about maybe Devin Bush being better than him, and he didn't like that. And I guess he was scrolling Twitter. He got me blocked. I think that's kind of funny. It's whatever. I've defended him enough since then, but played in all 62 games since he's gotten the league. Started 62 games. Interesting stat when I was doing my research. Only 1 interception since coming into the league. Now, in my head, I thought that was kind of wild, but I looked it up and it's true. He only had 1 interception, and it was one of the very first plays he ever had in the league. I think it was like week 3 or week 4 of his rookie season in 2019. He had a couple of really big plays, like a fumble recovery touchdown, an interception touchdown, only interception of his career. Kind of blew my mind when I saw that going into this. But another crazy stat, and this is just what Devin White does, 55 quarterback hits for this guy. That's an off-ball linebacker right there. And then this number is even crazier. How many sacks do you think Devin White has? Now, we know he gets a lot of sacks, whatever, but realistically, when you get the number thrown at you, you're kind of like, whoa. This dude has 20 and a half sacks. He's an off-ball linebacker. That's not Micah Parsons. That's not Hassan Reddick. They don't line him up on the edge. He just comes screaming through the middle, like Demario Davis, like Levante David. So, yeah, his coverage stuff is not great. Okay? Only 15 passes defended in his career. That's not a number that you love. Only 1 interception, not a number that you love. You got guys that are way better coverage linebackers. Logan Wilson, just to pull a name out of a hat for you. Devondre Campbell. But the reality is this guy's a kind of a superstar at this point, and he can continue to be that in the right team, in the right situation. We just saw Tremaine Edmonds, a lot of these kind of not middle of the pack, but young, in their prime linebackers kind of finding new homes. It's kind of interesting that the team says they don't have any intentions of moving on from Devin White. They're like, nah, we're going to keep Devin White. He's ours. he wants out, and I imagine somebody's looking for him. You know, he's a disruptive player, and that's the thing. When you have a disruptive player, a good weapon in the right defensive scheme, he can get a lot done for you. Don't tell me what he can't do. What's that Bill Belichick says? You know, I know he can't cover. Who cares? Give him this guy to Bill Belichick. I bet he'll get 10 sacks a season. Probably playing 500 snaps, something ridiculous like that. But he's one of these defensive weapons players. And where was I kind of going with that? Oh, the Bucs don't want to get rid of him, though. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to get the best Devin White if they don't. You know, this feels a little reminiscent to how Roquan Smith was last year. Remember how that went down? So we'll see. But whoever does pick him up, you know, they're getting a player that is playing a lot of football. I mean, he doesn't miss games normally. You know, and he's had a career trajectory that started out very similar to Levante David, one of the better linebackers in the league. That's, you know, who we kind of comp him to. So Buccaneers are going through a big shift right now. Be interesting to see how they come out of that on the other side. And I don't think that they're going to just keep Devin White around. Eventually he's going to be somewhere else, I think. So probably post NFL draft, we'll actually see that move go down. As far as for fantasy purposes, he's still the same player. I'm not looking to move away from him just yet or make any crazy moves. If somebody's trying to unload him a little cheap, you know, maybe you can get him for a linebacker too, you know, cost right now, cost of acquisition. That's a pro move. Go make that move. See a handful of people in the lobby, audience, whatever you call it. If y'all have any questions, throw them out to me because I will try to answer them here at the end. So we are kind of getting through this a little quick today. But last couple of players I wanted to give updates on were Shaquille Barrett, another Shaq, or two Shaqs, Shaq Barrett, Shaq Leonard. Shaq Barrett, teammate of Devin White. Right now, you know, he did rupture tear. I don't know I think rupture is the proper terminology. Rupture is Achilles tendon last season. He's recovering, they said, and it's looking good. Now, we've seen some running backs as of late come back from Achilles tendon tears, you know, when we were told that they never could, and be pretty decent. Maybe not, you know, Donta Foreman comes to mind. Marlon Mack came back and has had some good games from the ruptured Achilles. Richard Sherman, another ruptured Achilles type of situation. So this is one of those sports injuries where it's kind of like the ACL, where we have kind of, I don't want to say perfected it, but we have figured out how to rehab it properly, do the proper medical treatment to really bring people back from it, especially these elite athletes. It's taken a while, I guess. Kind of like the elbow thing with the baseball players, you know, Tommy John surgery. They've perfected that, and it makes them, you know, better throwers or whatever. So sports performance and sports medicine, you know, is something, it's one of these intangible kind of qualitative variables that we have to kind of evolve with the times. So I'm not advocating to go get Shaq Barrett right now, but I think that he's a forgotten player in Dynasty. He's just a forgotten NFL player, I think, at this point. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. You know, this guy had 18.5 sacks. What was it, just 3 years ago? And they say he's going to come back. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, Shaq Leonard, this is tougher because this guy was the top. I mean, this guy was the top linebacker in the NFL just like 2 years ago. But he's had a lot of injuries. You know, it's very similar to Jamal Adams. Back injuries. He's recovering from back surgery right now. That's the main thing to take away is I don't know how you can come back from that and have anything other than maybe like a comeback player of the year type season and then just ride off into the sunset with your money, because it's just, one, his team's just not very good. So I can't imagine he wants to put his heart and soul into the Colts. And two, it's just these injuries keep piling up. So we're going to keep monitoring that. You know, they say they're going to come back. He says he's going to play again. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see. Other news that I did want to post about or bring up was briefly going to touch on Bud Dupree signing with Atlanta. Not really very relevant. Bud Dupree is not a very good pass rusher. He's just not. I don't know what else to say about that. He might have some streamer value to some people. And if that's what what you're into, go for it. Go get you some streamer value out of Bud Dupree, but they need to address that pass rusher situation a lot more realistically, in my opinion, in Atlanta. They have made a lot of moves on their back end. We've seen, they brought in Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell. They drafted him, very good corner. And then they got, the guy from Detroit. I literally just had his name. Jeff Okudah. So they're looking good on the back end. We need to get some pass rushers up front who can be disruptive. No shade at Grady Jarrett. No shade at the guys they have. I will throw shade at Bud Dupree, though, because that ain't going to fix nothing, guys. That ain't going to fix nothing. All right, I'm going to quickly take a look at Roto World, see if any defensive news has popped up. Meaningful defensive news has popped up since we kind of hopped on here. Doesn't look like anything has. AJ Klein re-signed with the Buffalo Bills. Not like a big deal, really. Chase Young is showing up for his voluntary workouts. Good for him. I don't think he has any choice but to do that. Oh, I forgot to put this in there for the Quinnen part too. He's not showing up to camp or for a voluntary offseason program. So as he seeks a new contract. 25 million. Jets fans, you better start atting everybody. Keep this guy around. Because he could be bigger than Aaron Donald. He could be bigger than Aaron Donald. All right. Got any questions in the chat, y'all? I don't really see any. Keep an eye on the feed this week as far as the podcast. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed. Have some really cool guests coming on. Going to be having, I don't know if I want to give it away or not. Just know that there are some really fun guests coming on the show soon. Check out Mace's show on Monday, Mace's Spaces. He does a weekly space that he hosts on Twitter. Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern, having different fantasy football people in there. Different minds to talk about fantasy, answering questions. I do have a couple comments in here. Holla. All right, I'm gonna answer a couple of these. What do we got? So who's a linebacker to take over for Edmonds on the Bills? That's a good question. I think they're going to look for this in the draft. They do like AJ Klein. They played him when they had to last year. Obviously, they re-signed him. But I can't believe that they're going to earnestly go into the next season with Milano and AJ Klein as like the guys there. There's also the Terrell something. I forget that guy's name. I'll do a little more research on this for you, and I'll reach out to my guys over at Cover One, maybe get the inside scoop. But again, till the draft is done, I don't really feel comfortable even trying to project who's going to slide into some of these spots because, kind of like the running back position on offense, linebackers, it's whoever gets put in that spot will probably be productive. So we'll have to see who gets put in that spot. Another question. Sorry if you have already addressed this. Thoughts on Jordan Brooks? Jordan Brooks having in 2 leagues. Is he a trade away candidate? If somebody's coming around looking for him, you should always be limber to move a player, in my opinion, especially if people are looking. But that's on you. What does your running back situation look like? If you have Terrell Dotson, that's his name. But it's going to depend on your running back situation a lot more than anything, Aaron. And are you going to be leaning on Brooks this season? Is that already your situation? Are you looking to trade him away for a different linebacker? Are you just kind of not feeling it anymore? Or are you just kind of impatient, not wanting to see how it plays out? You'll have to understand your personal motivations a little bit. But everybody's a trade away or trade for candidate, depending on what the right offer is. So, I wouldn't say that about a guy who trade away. I don't think he's an immediate trade away candidate. He's not somebody I'm trying to actively unload. Maybe that's the best way to frame that. Devin White is a hold or a sell at this point. Just curious about his projected value. Let me see what I have him in the index as. I'll share it with y'all. So I have him as a hold right now. And it looks like I have his draft pick value still estimated as a first. Definitely going to be on the lower end of that, obviously. But he's still a linebacker, a player you can put in there and build your team around, build your defense around. And in a rookie draft, a back end first kind of guy, you're still kind of just hoping that works out. Maybe this year, hopefully next year and the year after. So a guy like Devin White, for me, represents somebody I can play immediately and who has, kind of locked himself into being a top 12, top 15 player consistently, set and forget. That itself has value in fantasy, and it lets you find other good players or search for upside, knowing that you already have some plus a good floor. So first is what I have him in here as. I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't give a first for him right now because first are worth a lot more probably. So I'm actually going to make an adjustment for a second plus right now, literally live on the channel, just because right now first are at a premium, and I think that you should be pushing a little bit harder than Devin White, even if he's an immediate need for your team. with a first. Drew says, hell to the yeah. Happy to do it, my guy. Like I said, y'all, you can check out the index yourself if you go check out our patreon.com/the IDP Army. You can also become a channel member. And I'm going to work on making one of those little, just a buy it one time thing, kind of like the shirts down below too, if you're watching on YouTube. So, all right. Well, in the spirit of keeping the show, reasonably well timed, reasonably well lengthed, that's going to be it for me, y'all. IDP Army, Fantasy Football Fanatics. You know where to find me. I'm on Twitter. We are on YouTube. Well, I'm going to try to spend more time on YouTube. So yeah, leave us any questions or comments. Be sure you are liking our shorts. I'm putting a lot of work into our shorts feed, putting a lot of cool highlights out there, offense and defense. And tell a friend about the show. The number one thing you can do to help the channel, support the channel, is literally go copy, click the share button, get the little clip to your clipboard, and just go drop this in your league chats. You know what I mean? Like, that would be awesome. We would really appreciate that. Leave us a 5-star rating or review on the channel as well. We would love that. So that's it for fantasy football, NFL news, and rumors that affect your IDP Dynasty fantasy teams. Come back and see us again. Remember, IDP, and the P is for pushing P, baby. Let's go. The IDP and the P is for pushing D. There it is. He got it.